There's a lot of talk about the massive bubble that we're in at the moment, and I guess the next part of the conversation becomes what happens when this bubble pops? What happens if there's a massive market correction? And that's what I want to talk about today. And I don't think it's anything that any of us, I suppose, true investors that have been here for a while, or even if you're new and plan to be here for a while, need to worry about. So let's talk about that. Market opportunities. Now, you will have to forgive me. You might notice my voice sounds a bit different, suffering from a fair bit of man flu at the moment. So sorry about that. Sorry about the nasally voice, but please bear with me. If you're new here, my name's Michael Pokey-Oz. We talk all things Pokemon card investing. So welcome to the channel. And if you're a repeat, I was going to say repeat offender, but repeat viewer is perhaps a better word. Thanks so much for your support. I know a lot of you guys and girls watch every single video, so I really, really appreciate it. Right, let's jump into it. Fear market corrections. Let's imagine a world, and I know this is just a hypothetical at the moment because this bull market doesn't seem to be slowing down, and with 30th anniversary just around the corner, it also doesn't feel like it's going to slow down anytime soon. So let's imagine a world where there's maybe like a 25, 30, even 40% retraction in everything. Like mostly singles, and that's what I want to talk a bit about in this video because we don't talk enough about singles on this video. So I do want to talk about singles a fair bit, but also sealed product as well. You know, what would it be like? And it would be absolutely crazy, wouldn't it? There would be panic selling, there'd be fear everywhere. Facebook, eBay, TCG Player, listings would absolutely massively increase and people would be running to the hills. That's what would inevitably happen if there's a 30% correction. But for the smart investors, the ones that are attuned to the market, the ones that have done their research, watched a lot of videos, been in the game for a while even, those people, they will see this as an opportunity because the biggest returns in investing often come from buying when everyone else is scared. The hard part isn't finding or knowing when this is going to happen. The hard part is, or the easy part I should say, is having a plan in place when this does happen. So imagine that there's a massive retraction. This presents or should present in your mind a massive, massive opportunity. And if we talk about that for a second, they are the biggest opportunities when the market's quiet. You know, think about Bubble Mew. And that's not to say that, I'm not saying here that you can't make gains in a bull market. Of course you can. Like if you'd bought Bubble Mew at $650 and now it's $1,000, you've made some awesome gains, some phenomenal gains. But the biggest gains to be made on that card was when it was quiet, when it was dormant. So it's getting ahead of the play. It's knowing when an investment opportunity presents itself. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. A little bit of a game plan for both sealed and singles, and mainly singles, if we see that market retraction. It's having, the other side of it is, it's having the confidence to buy when the market feels terrible. And that's why having a plan and having a wish list for singles and sealed product is so important at any time. So I have a bit of a wish list for singles that I want as part of my collection if we see a correction. I don't want to spend $1,000 on Bubble Mew, I'm sorry. I like the card, but I'm not that into singles. But I do have a wish list of cards that A, I think would be decent investments, and B, that I would love to have as part of my collection if we see a market correction. I also have a strategy in place for sealed product right now during this bull market, but then I have another strategy for sealed product if we see a big market correction. Before we jump into that, I did want to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, which is of course the Collector app. It's such a good app to use. It's got everything. You can see all your singles, all your sealed in there, real-time pricing based off the latest eBay sales. You can look at set analytics for any given English, Japanese set, etc. You can see the strongest hits inside the sets. If you're a pro user, you can see heaps of data showing how the market's been moving for each card, for all sealed products as well. You can look at trades inside here. You can track your whole portfolio and see how your portfolio has been performing. And of course, you can follow my journey in there if you if you feel fit to do so. So again, link in the description to download the Collector app. Now, massive retraction in the market. So that is the time to make gains. Like if you'd bought Bubble Mew at $150, of course you would have made more gains than buying at $600. Again, I'm not saying you can't make gains during a bull market. Of course you can. Things can and will continue to go up during a bull market, but the biggest market is when it's quiet. The biggest opportunity to buy, I remember, people were flash selling Paldea Evolved, about 2 years ago, and it was, around $110 US. And I guess the market was a bit scared at that time. And that's the time when you need to have, like I was saying, the confidence to be able to pull the trigger on certain products. What's Warren Buffett's also famous saying that I use on this channel a fair bit, which is to be greedy when other people are fearful and to be fearful when other people are greedy. That's why I think you do need to have a separate strategy for bull market and a separate strategy for a retracted market or a quiet market. And here's the thing, right? Here's my wish list, or here's almost a suggested list of singles. I've got 10 of them that I would suggest picking up if we see that 25 to 30% retraction in the market. I'm not saying that's coming anytime soon. I'm just saying if it does, and look, really, it should be when, not if. Like the Pokemon card market isn't going to just inevitably just increase in value like indefinite. Maybe it will. Maybe the artwork is absolutely insane. And when it comes to singles, talking about artwork, that's something that rings true to me more than ever. So when I talk about value of singles, I use a very simple equation. What's the Pokemon? What's the rarity? And how nice is the artwork? Those three things combined, in my opinion, add to the value of the card, whether it's a raw card or a graded card. Now think about that for a second. Pokemon plus rarity plus artwork. Pokemon plus rarity plus artwork. Is it a fan favorite Pokemon? Is it Charizard? Is it Mew? Is it Umbreon? Is it Gengar, etc.? What's the rarity like? So how difficult are the pull rates? Is it 1 in 200? Is it 1 in 2,000? The rarity is going to make a difference. And then talking about artwork, that for me now more than ever, especially since we've moved into Scarlet and Violet era with special illustration rares or even alternate artwork from Sword and Shield era, the artwork has proven to be so important to the value of a Pokemon card. Look at Charizard for Phantasmal Flames. Charizard, rarity, 1 in 400, not overly difficult to pull, but because it's got what people are saying, some generational artwork or some of the best artwork we've ever seen Charizard have, its value is absolutely through the roof. So those three things are very, very important to the value. So if I talk about some modern cards, some OG cards and some promo cards that I would pick up, I would say Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies, which is currently $2,292. If we saw a massive retraction, which we did actually. We actually saw a retraction in Umbreon VMAX about 6 months ago, about that 30% price. It was just before Christmas when a lot of singles were dipping down. There is no way that Umbreon was going to stay there. It's already bounced back to the same height that it was before. It's now at its most expensive it has ever been at nearly $2,300 US. So if we saw a 30% retraction, which is going to bring it back around that $1,500 mark, geez, it's a good pickup. Think about the Pokemon, think about the rarity, think about the artwork. They're the three things that matter. My second one would be Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. Now, Scarlet and Violet era, I think there's going to be 3 cards from that era, and you might disagree with them, but these are my 3. I think it's Bubble Mew will probably go down as the most remembered card from the era. Umbreon EX will probably go down as the most expensive card from the era from Prismatic Evolutions, but the nicest artwork from the era, in my opinion, will have to go to Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. And for that reason, I think if it saw any sort of retraction, like they're the big 3 from the era for me. And look, people might disagree with that. They might say Rocket's Mewtwo from Destined Rivals, or they might say, maybe something from Black Bolt White Flare, but that Magikarp, I think that has, and even at $400, still has plenty of room to grow. There are no black labels of that card, by the way. Imagine if we saw a BGS 10 in a black label Magikarp, considering Bubble Mew, the amount of money that was going for, it would be absolutely insane. If Magikarp saw a 30% reduction, which would bring it back down to $300 US, I would definitely pick that up. Next one on the list is Gengar VMAX from Fusion Strike. It's nudging on $1,000. It's $979. Again, this is a generational Pokemon, generational artwork. It is one of the top 3 hits. You think about the 3 cards from the whole Sword and Shield era. For me, maybe the Lugia comes in there, but not quite. It's Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies, it's Giratina V from Lost Origin, and it's Gengar VMAX from Fusion Strike. They are the three cards from the generation that stand out to me. So that one as well. And speaking of Giratina, that would be number 4 on my list. And as you can see, there's some generational cards on this list. If these generational cards see retraction in market price, it's just a no-brainer in my opinion to pick these up. Giratina V is up to nearly $850 raw at $839. Speaking of generational cards, number 5 on my list would be Bubble Mew. It has just verged on $1,000. It is crossed over $1,000. We know big sales from PSA 10s or BGS Black Labels will pull up the singles prices of those cards, and as a result we've seen that with Bubble Mew. It's ripped it up really quickly from 800 to over 1,000 due to some of those sales in my opinion, so that would be one if there was a market retraction that I'd pick up. Now speaking of some OGs, again, it is the generational cards. Why? Because generational cards in my opinion, they can withstand more because they're etched in history, they're etched in nostalgia, and that will bring about a certain level of resilience to these cards that even if we see downturns in the market, whenever a bull market returns, they flourish again. Gold Star Rayquaza would be just one example in my mind. That's over $9,000 raw. Now keep in mind, of course, raw pricing for OG cards really comes down to condition. For the most part, modern cards, you're expecting them to be in mint or near mint condition, but I mean, you can see ripped up Gold Star Rayquazas with half the foil showing across the whole card because it's tattered in pieces, but so pricing, of course, does matter on that for raw. Number 7 on my list would be Neo Genesis Lugia, the rookie card for Lugia, $1,800 raw. And of course, the other OG card for me would be base set Charizard, $16,800 raw pricing. Again, of course, condition matters in these in first edition. And I would probably pick up a couple of promos. And the promos that have been standing out to me as just, you know, will be seen as generational promos. Some of the XY era promos, like the Mario Pikachu, combining two amazing franchises, which Nintendo now has the license for both of them, is just insane. Mario and Pikachu combining, and then combining number 10 in my eyes, two of the greatest Pokemon from Gen 1, Charizard and Pikachu, arguably the two mascots of the whole series there. Amazing. That they would be, if any of those cards saw a retraction in price, that's where I'd park my money. Now, moving on to sealed really, really quickly. A counterpoint to that. If we did see a retraction in price, one other thing I would do with singles, because I've talked about what to do, what about what not to do? I would avoid a lot of these hype-driven modern cards. There are some cards that have seen buyouts, which have seen 100, 150% increases in price rapidly. Things like Drowsy from Scarlet and Violet base, that saw some things like buyouts, which pumped its price up to ridiculous levels. Not to say that it's not good artwork, because it is, but the Pokemon inside there isn't exactly a fan favorite. But there are a lot of hype-driven. I think it was it Baxcalibur from Paldea Evolve? That was another one that was like shielded up to $100, and now it's come back down to earth. Some of those hype-driven cards I would avoid. Think about the Pokemon, the rarity, and the artwork. Are they etched in history? Now, sealed. Sealed is another one which is interesting. If we were to see a retraction in this bubble, what strategy would you put in play? For me at the moment, my strategy is pretty simple. At the moment, there's a bull market, and the bull market is really, really concentrated to ultra modern sets. So we see sets like Phantasmal Flames, we see sets, even Ladder and Scarlet Violet sets like Destined Rivals, even some modern, even like Mega Evolution base. Like it's ultra modern, and it's inflated in price so quickly because stock moves from the primary market, so the primary retailers and sellers, straight to the secondary market because people buy it out. That's why. And all of a sudden we get these massive influxes in price. They go up rapidly because the product has already been moved to the secondary market. And when I think about that, my strategy at the moment is that feels overpriced. And look, whether it is or not, that's yet to be seen. Whether Phantasmal Flames just continues its march to a $2,000 booster box, I'm not sure. But to me, it feels overpriced for an ultra modern set. I would much rather, and this is my strategy at the moment, go back to mid-era Scarlet and Violet and prior, and I'm probably talking Surging Sparks and before, and also Sword and Shield sets. They have appreciated to some of the price points that ultra-modern Scarlet and Violet era sets have, but they're way older. They're not going to get reprinted. The market for those are going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. I would much rather, and I know this to some people would sound insane because they're on the ultra modern hype train and they're driven by a lot of this modern hype. I would much rather buy a Chilling Reign booster box than a Phantasmal Flames booster box. For me, that has a lot more upside. That is my strategy at the moment in the current bull market, particularly with the lens being on the hype of ultra modern. So I'm buying things like Surging Sparks, Twilight Masquerade, going back, even things like Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Silver Tempest, even Paradox and Temporal, in my opinion, are better purchases than some of these overinflated ultra-modern booster boxes. Now, there's an argument to be had in the other direction, but that's where I see the market at the moment. If the market retracts and cools off, and particularly with the hype that's on ultra-modern, that's then going to change the strategy. I can't see big retractions happening to Sword and Shield or even some of the early Scarlet and Violet era booster boxes, but I can, if there's either reprints or a change to market structure, see some of the ultra modern sets coming back down in price. Now, if that happens, my strategy is going to change a little bit and I'll probably put some more attention towards those sets. I think Mega Evolution Base is a great set. I think that Charizard is generational artwork and it'll carry Phantasmal Flames a certain way. There are still some reservations from me towards Phantasmal Flames and how good a set it'll be in the long term, but it's proven how much hype and how popular it is. And I do have a saying, if it's popular new, it's going to be popular secondhand. But it does remind me a little bit of Burning Shadows about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and what that was doing in the market. So, some experience can sometimes come into play there. But that would be my strategies when it comes to a change in this market, if we see this bubble burst, so to speak. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. I'm Michael Pokey Oz, and I'll catch you all next time.